Well, hello. Today I'm going to be doing something just a tad different. I am going to be sewing some stuff. So the setup is a little bit interesting. Also, I apologize for any the frames per second on the video. I am using my DSLR as a webcam, and in order to unlock 1080p with 60 frames per second on this thing, I have to buy the subscription for the service that I'm using, and I'm not doing that. No. I am also streaming using my PNG model, simply because if I was to turn on my VTuber model, it would not work. The tracking would not be here. So so it's just going to be a PNG model for today. And then we'll see how this goes. Oh no, if this is even going to be enough lights. I feel like it's pretty dark, so hold on. Whoops. Feel like that's just a little bit better. Also, it might be a little bit hard for me to read chats sometimes because everything is everywhere. This is an entire setup. More so, I feel like it's not as complex as some of my other setups, but it feels more complex because I have so many things just around me. I have my laptop, I have the mic, I have my camera. But yeah. Ooh. Okay. So we'll see how this goes. But it is currently getting to the point where it's now summer. So I really want to make some summer outfits, more specifically summer tops, because I have... Oh. Okay. Is this... Because I have... Hold on. Mess around. Okay, it might... I think the auto brightness is on, or auto exposure is on. I don't know how to turn that off, in all honesty. This is, yeah, it gets 100% auto exposed. Oh, yeah. Okay. And that's fun. I honestly have no idea how to turn that off with this setup. So it might just... The auto expose might be going a little bit wild. If it's super duper bad, it's constantly shifting, then I'll see what I can do to fix that. But yeah, so right now I am making... Let me move this back just a smidge. Okay. So I am making a shirt. So this is... There's not that much space to show. because my desk is tiny. But yeah, so this is the front of the shirt. So this is the front of the shirt, and then it will button up in the middle. So that's what I'm currently doing. And then I need to also refix the straps on it, because I sewed the straps in between both of the layers. I have since decided that I don't want that, and I want the straps out to be more in the front, and then I'm going to add a button. So then that way then I can get the correct placement of the straps, because I've been fiddling with the straps so much where it's like I don't want them to be too loose, but I also don't want them to be too tight. And right now I've just kind of been fiddling around with it. So, and I can never get it correct in terms of how tight I want. So that's where if I can just put a button, so I'll just put a button on the actual front of the shirts and then put a buttonhole on the straps. And then I can just figure out where I want to place the button after and make it to size. So that way then the straps aren't too loose or too tight. And then if anything happens, then I can always just take off the button and re-sew the button on, if I need to like readjust the straps later. I don't think that I'm going to do that for the back of the straps. I think I'm going to leave them as is. The only issue that I'm having is that I want to put on like a bias binding on it, and I don't know how I want to do that in regards to the straps. So there might be a little bit of fuckery going on with that, where I might just have to kind of roll this in a little bit. But I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is just kind of rip this part off and deal with that first. So then I just need to grab that. There we go. What do I want to do? This is also like really hard where I'm like, I want to show you exactly what I'm doing, but like it's like dark fabric, and then I can tell there's a lot of fuckery going on because there's a lot of this is like this is a project that I started like last summer, and then I just never finished it. Which I kind of understand why. What the hell? Oh. Okay. Sometimes I don't know what I'm on when I'm doing this. I mean, I have issues where like the around my armpit doesn't fit correctly, and I've been trying to figure out how to get that to fit. Also, I need my scissors. Also I have a little mini trash can that I keep on my desk when I'm sewing, so that way then I can just put my threads in there. Makes it a lot easier, but I want to cut a lot of these threads. Whoa. I need to be careful with my mic. Not used to having something beside me. Oh, and my cat wants in. We'll see. Not that much space for you cats. Hello, how's it going? I'm just working on a sewing project. I'm making a shirt, and then this will be the front of the shirt, and it will button up at the front. Right now, I'm working on detaching the sleeves because I want to add a button to the strap, so then I can adjust it correctly. Wait, please don't play around with that. Oh, oh, kitty cat. There you go. What are you doing? Yeah. Then this is her bed. Every single time that she's on my desk, this is where she sits. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There it is. What is going on with this strap? Her name's Cinder. I named her after a character from the anime called Ruby. It's one of the villains from Ruby. Is named Cinder. This is so hard to find where this goes. Now I kind of understand why I didn't want to do this. It's hard to tell what thread I need to pull. There's so many different threads going on. I mean, I don't think that you can see, but there's like a lot of threads going on, and I'm like, I don't know where the start of this thread goes, and I don't know what this thread does. I'm just kind of picking at it. I think I found the one that I need. Yes, that's the one that I need, and that opens that up. Might. Yeah. I'm actually going. There we go. I feel like that's a little bit better because now chat's not covering up what I'm doing. I don't have a lot of space, and oh, there it is. So it's kind of hard to be like, I have such like limited space, so I'm like, I need to figure out how to put where to put everything. Especially with my cat bed on the side of my desk, that takes up like a quarter of the desk. So really have to be careful. Ah, okay. I've really done a number on this. There we go. Okay. That is all done. And yeah, I don't think that I'm going to take anything apart from the back. I think I'm only going to do the front. And then I add a little button in the front. Probably going to be the best thing. Okay. Now, this sewn down. This is sewn down. Okay. It's sewn down all the way. Yeah, it's sewn down. Okay. Fun. Okay. See you when you come back. This is the front of the shirt, right? Yes, it is. Sometimes I just want to double check, even though that I know that it is. I just want to know. But yeah, this shirt it's a, it matches a skirt that I've done. And so I did the skirt a year ago or whatnot, and I love how it turned out. It's a gathered skirt with this fabric, and then it has white ruffles on the end of it. So I really wanted to make a shirt that matches, especially because I had leftover fabric. I like leftover of this fabric. And I have so much scrap fabric that I just want to get through. Granted, I have a lot of fabric to begin with that I wanted to use. But more so my scrap fabric, because I feel like with every project, I just get more and more of it. So I wanted to do some scrap fabric projects, like scrap busting fabric. Scrap fabric busting projects. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Where I just use as much of my scrap fabric as possible, and just try to get through a lot of it. And so that's why in the front of it, or not the front, in the back, I have a lot of fuckery going on, a lot of stuff going on the back, or in the on the lining, because all of this is just like individual pieces of fabric that I sewn together to make the lining fabric. So just because it's like I wanted to use up a lot of the scrap fabric that I had, and I thought, you know what, using it for lining layer makes the most amount of sense, because no one's going to see, like, no one's going to see the absolute Frankenstein of a piece of fabric that I made. So, like, you know what? Why not? But yeah, I didn't have a lot of this fabric left over. I used majority of it for the skirt, Since it is a gathered skirt, it takes up a lot of fabric. Um, and I didn't have that much left over, so I'm like, you know what? Let me make a shirt out of it. And I think like even I don't even think that I have a lot of I don't even think that I have any more fabric left over of this uh of the I don't think that I have anything left over of this fabric is what I'm trying to say. Um but I'm just using it for a shirt. I also have no idea if I even have buttons for this shirt. So I might not be able to put the buttons today either. Um, 'Cause it's like I inherited a bucket of buttons from my grandmother, but it's a lot of like one-off buttons. So it's great if I just need one or two of them, but like if I need an entire set, I'm not going to find it in that bin. And I don't have realistically I just buy whatever I need for a set project, especially in terms of like buttons or zippers or whatever. So I don't have a lot of that stuff just lying around. Um, Whereas like stuff where I like to try to make, I want to make a little bit more. You know what? I'm going to move this over just a smidge. There we go. Now it feels like if I like move it a little bit closer to me, it's not going to get super duper cut off. But yeah, like if I want to make some corsets and stuff like that, so I have a huge roll of boning for the corsets, because I was able to just get it off of Amazon. So I kind of felt bad going to my local fabric store and being like, yes, I need 15 yards of your boning, and it's like only a small roll of boning that they have. I feel bad of like, I'm going to take all of it. Especially when it's like I don't need all of it right now. It's just really nice to have on hand if I when I need it. So yeah, so I just bought that off of Amazon. I try not to buy a lot of stuff off of Amazon. Um, Realistically, only when like I absolutely need something and I have no idea what stores would carry it, if they would even carry it. Um, what is going on? I see. I see why this is so hard. Trying to like rip out like 7 different threads all at the same time. There we go. Okay, that is all done. Nice, lucky. What kind of pizza is it? Because I know a while back it was very controversial to have pineapple on pizza, but like Hawaiian pizza is my favorite. Um, so uh, what? Oh, I see. I think. Okay, so that's taken care of. Now, where did I stop? I stopped there. What else? Have all around here. This. Oh, okay. Where does this go? That goes up there. Okay, okay, okay. I see. I see. I think. And what is this? Oh, it stops over here. Okay, so then I just have to add in some more rows, more black for this. Okay, I'm going to do that first before I start pinning things on to the shirts and then doing the bias binding. Nice. Yeah, it's like Hawaiian or like pineapple pizza is really good because it's like ham, pineapple, and cheese. Um, it's the stuff that I grew up with, so it's always my favorite pizza. I know that I sometimes also uh like a variation of like a chicken Caesar pizza, um, where it's just like I think it's more like I think it has like Caesar sauce, like a I can't remember like the sauce that you put on Caesar salads and then chicken with cheese. That's really good too. What? What? You don't like the? What are you thinking? Okay, and I'll just be right back. And I'm back. I just wanted to grab some water and then also I wanted to grab my bucket of projects because I'm assuming that I have some sort of black in it. I just don't know if it's the right size. It's all gathered. I haven't sewn in a hot minute, so I'm like half of this stuff. I went through my project bin the other day and I'm like, what the hell am I even making with any of this stuff? Okay, so I'm going to take you out. You. Okay. But yeah. There we go. Now, are you the right size? I do not think so. Um, Pretty much. Would be essentially the right size. Okay, is that enough to get me around? I don't think. But we'll see. If I do. Oh, I need my pens. There we go. I'm just going to pin that. I don't really want to sew it just yet. Or, like, yeah, like sew it together just yet until I kind of have a rough idea of if this fabric is even, this strip of fabric is even enough. Here we go. Hello, how's it going? I am just sewing a shirt and I am making, right now I'm just sewing on the bias binding. But the shirt is to match a skirt that I made with the same fabric, especially because I don't have a lot of summer shirts. So I want to make a few before really like the heat waves, like the heat starts coming, because I know that it's starting to get really hot and there's been like a few days where I'm like, ooh. Um, I honestly don't understand your question, and don't fall. Don't fall. What are you doing? That's my cat. Hi. Hi. Are you gonna sit down or are you like Yeah. She was just like hanging off the side and I was like, please, like, there you go. Uh I'm not I'm not used to a lot of internet slang. Hi. Hmm, okay. I have a fan going on in my room, and she doesn't like it. But I'm like, I have to, or else it's going to be way too hot. Um, yeah, that's what I was doing. But yeah, I'm not going to have enough of this to go around, so I'm still missing a little bit. Is this the correct size or not? No. Just a smidge bigger, but I mean, I can always cut it down. And the other strip of fabric that I have is bigger. Either bigger or the same size as this. Oh. But since I already have it, I might as well use it. Okay. I'm just going to take out the gathering. I have no idea what this ruffle is for. Probably like some sort of skirt or something like that. uh, yeah. So I need how much? I'm just going to wing it. I want the side with the, because that's going to add bulk. I don't need the hem that I have on this. Let me just try to eyeball it. Because normally how a lot of my projects go is just me winging it. Think that be enough? No. Well, it should, hopefully. If not, then I'll just add another little bit. So, And then since that is now done, I can sit here and sew this up. I need to change my thread. Okay, and I don't have any bobbin that's filled with black thread. Fantastic. Okay, that should be fine. My grandmother pinched myself on my bobbins. Oh, that hurt. My grandmother loves to sew, and so I got some of the. I went up to her house one day, and she gave me a whole bunch of thread, which is fantastic. Especially because I tend to use a lot of black thread. A lot of my projects uh, tend to use black fabric or some sort of variation. Oh, there it is. I'm like, where did I put my bobbin? It's like my iPad pencil for my iPad. I never put that thing down. I have a little um holder. Yes, that is correct. Okay, my mic shouldn't pick this up, but we shall see. There we go. That's fair. I actually have never watched that show. I've seen clips of it online. I just have never really sat down and watched it. I personally think that I would enjoy it. I just don't have a lot of time to watch TV shows. Because I'm constantly doing stuff. Um, is this going to work? No, it will not. Okay, guys, credits manually. I don't know why my automatic editor go. But yeah, I have a feeling like I would definitely enjoy the show. But as I said, I just don't have a lot of time to sit down and watch things. Right now I'm watching I tend to watch a little bit more anime, but right now I'm watching the Witch Hat Atelier anime series. Oh my god, it's so good. I am I just watched this week's episode. I'm not going to like spoil anything. But the animation, oh my god, it's to die for. It is a treat. It really um it's really giving me no, what am I doing? There we go. It's really giving me the um Violet Evergarden. That's another anime that's really beautifully animated. It's really much giving that kind of vibe with the animation. Um, both for Wednesday or Adam's Family, both. I have not seen anything, which I think is hilarious because I do really think that I would love the show. And like I've seen clips of it, and like I've enjoyed the clips, but I just was never really a show that I watched growing up. Here we go. Now, how do I want to do? It would be like this. Yeah, it was never really like a show that I watched while growing up. I was more into um this right way. I was more into like Transformers and like Thundercats, more of like the 80s 90s shows. Um now okay, there we go. Everything looks and feels correct, I think, I hope. Okay. Double checking everything. Making sure that whoop. I need to remember that my mic is here. I'm like, it's close to me, and I'm like, I keep accidentally knocking it. There we go. But yeah, like I love like I enjoy like spooky stuff. So that's why, and like Halloween and um all things that go bump in the night type thing. So I'm like, I know that I would enjoy it, but I just don't have the time to sit down and watch stuff. Um, a little bit. Like I think like for in terms of like little kids shows, the thing is that in Canada, I think it's a Canadian broadcast. We have what's known as Treehouse. And that was the channel that I would watch when I was growing up. And so that we had like um Tubing and Beano or something like that. Um I know that that was the backyard the backyard the back Yardians backyard. I don't know. Um I think it's the Backyardians. I would watch that as well. Um, like in terms of like little kid shows, and then we had, and then when I was a little bit more of a like preteen, we had what's known as Family Channel, which is basically our dupe of Disney Channel. So like a lot of Disney Channel shows, like Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, like all of that, would air on the Family Channel. Um, yeah, and then we also had like Cartoon Network. But we had like two different types of Cartoon Network. We had like I think the more modern Cartoon Network, and then we had the like 80s and 90s Cartoon Network. Um, know I also like in terms of like little kid shows, I know that I would watch Winnie the Pooh as well. Um the for whatever reason, like as much like for whatever reason I loved the Tigger movie for Winnie the Pooh. Even though that it made me sob as a kid, I don't know, there was just something about it that I absolutely loved about it and I kept on rewatching it. Where did that strip of fabric go? No, then it's on the ground. Oh, okay. Because I don't need the gathers, I can just take out these threads, which should be easy because they're just gathering threads. Pull them out. There we go. That should be enough. Hopefully it is. Yeah, I had when I was a baby, my bedroom was painted yellow and I had Winnie the Pooh wallpaper on. And like my um like I would have like Winnie the Pooh bedding as well. Like when I was like a little kid. Um that's what I want to do. Like my mom also loves Winnie the Pooh as well. Whoops. Trying to shimmy all this out. There we go. Don't knock anything off. That would be great. Yeah. And then I can take this pin out. Hi there, cat. Oop. Is that? That's going to catch. Don't be silly. Okay. Yeah, that kind of caught. Yeah, it still caught. That's good. And then I can pin it down. Do I want to go all the way over? Yes. Yes, I do. Okay. And then that can go out. Okay, like that. now, because that is the end, maybe not. Okay, because originally I was like, oh, I could just sew from this side, so then I don't have to like shove everything in here. But I'm just worried that it's going to start puckering more at like this seam where I stopped, because it's not going to align. So I think I'm just going to I'm just going to shove everything in here and then continue on with how I was sewing it before. Just so that way then if anything isn't aligned properly, it doesn't really matter per se. Oh, where did I stop? I stopped here. And then just make sure that everything is straightened out. There we go. Oops. Is this... Okay. There we go. Yeah, like going back to like things that like I typically watch. I know more recently, just because I haven't had time to watch stuff, I've been watching a lot of people play different types of games. So 9 times out of 10, if I am doing stuff, I have what? I have like a live stream playing on in the background of like different games. I know I typically watch people play more Dark Souls games, so like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, that sort of thing. And then I've just, oh my god, I keep hitting my mic. But then I just got into watching someone play Halo for the first time. Or like for the first time in a long time, because I would watch my dad play Halo when I was really, really young. Like my dad, so like fun fact, I used to get so frustrated with video games. So for like most of my childhood, I never really liked playing video games, which I think is funny now because I enjoy playing video games. But like in my childhood, I would get super duper frustrated with the games that I was playing. That sometimes I would ask my dad to help beat a certain boss or a certain level. I know like in Club Penguin, when you're doing the ninja training and you have to like beat the sensei on the different levels to like master the different elements. I know majority of the times I would just get my dad to play it. Because like if I played the game, I would sit here and I would just rage quit. And then for the longest time I didn't play any sort of computer games until I started playing The Sims 3. I got introduced to The Sims 3 from, I think you... No, I got introduced to The Sims 3 by a friend. But she was playing The Sims 3. And I think that she had like an Xbox or something like that. And she was playing The Sims 3 on the Xbox. And I didn't have an Xbox growing up. So I only had a desktop. And so I ended up getting The Sims 3. And that's what I want to do. Okay. And so then I got the Sims 3 base game. And like also like little me didn't know what specs on a computer was either. So I remember getting the base game of The Sims 3 and like not opening it for, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks, because if I opened the game then I couldn't return it. But if I didn't open the game then I could return it. So it just sat on my desk for like a good solid few weeks because I didn't know if my computer would run it because my computer was old. I think it was Windows. I'm pretty sure that it was Windows XP, and it was like the family computer desktop too. I didn't know if it would run The Sims, but then I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I opened up the game, popped it in, and like it ran just fine. And now knowing like specs on computers is like, well, yes, like obviously you want to look at the specs for the computer game to make sure that your computer can actually run it. Majority of the times, even if you sit here and you don't have the quote unquote recommended specs, as long as it's not too far off from the recommended specs, you can still run the game. You just might not be able to run it on like the highest graphics setting. I know that that was something that also that happened with me with Genshin. I started playing Genshin on like an old laptop. Um, I So like my laptops only last me about like 4-ish years before they crap out, and it's not even like it's for different reasons. And no two laptops go the same. Like that's the thing that I always find fascinating for me is that no two laptops ever go the same. So like the one of my laptops, the some of the screws on the bottom of my laptop just started coming loose and like coming out and just dropping on the floor. And it's like, how does that even happen? Or there was like another laptop that I had where the hinges, um, I don't know what, but basically, I know that I had a few issues with hinges on laptops. And then also how do I do corner? How do I do corner? I think I remember correctly. Am I even supposed to leave this open? Don't. I mean, it's like, I don't think so. I've never been able to do corners with bias binding. So, we'll see. Like, yeah, I think I did this inside out. Potentially. Yeah. Whoops. I don't think that I was supposed to leave. Yeah, I was. I have no idea. Anyway, it's whatever. It's stuffed. It's fine. But yeah, like and then I know one of my computers, um, the keyboard part. So like the front, like the top of the laptop where the keyboard sits, that frame was separating from the bottom frame. So like anytime that I opened the lid, you would just hear the plastic cracking because, and you could see like as you lift the lid, you could see that the top of the keyboard was separating a little bit from the bottom. And so it, like, I've never really had good luck with laptops, but I still get them because I like the portability. I don't think that I would ever, if I ever get a actual desktop again, I would have to have some sort of laptop. Um, because I like being able to have that portability option, especially because I don't have consoles. I don't have like an Xbox or a PS4 or PS5 or whatever. So like if I want to play, if I want to sit down on the couch and play a game, I can with my laptop because I can just plug in an HDMI cord and plug that into my TV, and it's now a console. Especially because I play all of my games using a controller. Um, so I never do like mouse or keyboard. Never have, never will. I think I tried once with a mouse and keyboard, and I hated it. I really hated it. Um, like I think maybe if I had like a desktop and I was playing it with a mouse and keyboard on a desktop, I think that would be a different story. But with my laptop, I have to have a cooling fan on the bottom of it, or else my laptop will just overheat. Also, readjust this without hitting anything. Hopefully, oh, this is also is okay. Um, also I can get rid of this piece. But anyway, so like one of my laptops gave out, and we had an old laptop kicking around, and so I started using that because like why not? I'm going to leave the corner for right now. But yeah, like I had a yeah, so one of my laptops gave out, and so I was using a really old laptop. Like I think at that time, I think it was like a 7 to 8 year old laptop. Um, and I started playing Genshin on it. Now, obviously, like this laptop is like it's old. It doesn't have. It's just a normal desktop laptop, or it's just a normal like work laptop. So there's no like crazy graphic card in it or anything like that. It's not even meant for like full on gaming either. And I remember loading Genshin. Well, so I didn't even have enough space to play Genshin on that laptop. I had to use an external hard drive to have enough space to download and play Genshin. And then I played Genshin on like one of the lowest graphic settings. And like in my non-gamer mind, I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like, I want to fix it. Because yeah, like in my non-gamer mind, I'm like, graphics didn't matter to me because I never really understood the difference between like running a heavy graphics game. Um, Especially because at that point, like I've only known, early 2000s game graphics and The Sims 3 graphics. So for Genshin, I'm playing on I think the low graphic settings, and like it still looked amazing to me. If I know that I had to, speaking of dead laptops, I purchased my first ever gaming laptop when I decided that I was like for sure going to continue playing Genshin, because I um the laptop would stutter, or the game would stutter anytime that I got near water, and it was just kind of getting harder and harder for me to play Genshin on the laptop without like completely dropping frames or just things stuttering. So I purchased my first ever gaming laptop, and that crapped out within the first year. I think it was a year that I had that laptop, and everything was going smoothly on it until, hold on, there we go, until one day I booted up the laptop and it started to blue screen. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I thought nothing of it because I know in the past I would have computers that would blue screen, and then it's like it's fine. Like it's fine for like another, year or two. Um and then it got to the point where pretty much, whoops. Well, now it's gotten to the point where I have to sew this. Okay. Let me repin this. Yeah, I have to shove this together. Do this. Right. Yes. Okay. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. There we go. I pressed the button and I don't know how to get it back. So you always turn it off and turn it back on. But yeah, like the laptop would blue screen sometimes when I would like reboot it up. And then one day it just got progressively worse. And I'm like, ooh, I should really back everything up and look at what stop codes I'm getting, like what error codes I'm getting for the blue screen, to kind of figure out the diagnosis. And so I took a few pictures of the codes, went to Best Buy, and it's like, okay, hey, like Geek Squad, what do these codes mean? And they're just like, oh, like sometimes it just means that like Windows updates, like one of the Windows update is like corrupted and it's just kind of corrupting. And it's like, because the Windows update was corrupted, it's not able to boot up your computer properly. And so just factory reset it and it should be fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I had a feeling that, that's what I had to do anyway, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go take these stop codes just to be on the safe side. Because I didn't want to like factory reset it and then they're just like, you like done screwed up and you made the thing worse type thing where you should have brought it in. Especially because it was still under warranty. So I just wanted to make sure that um, that I wasn't like screwing around with anything. So then I backed everything up, factory resetted it. But upon booting the computer back up to then do like all of the Windows updates, it blue screened again. And I'm like, that's not good. That is so not good because Windows is like, do not turn off your power or else like it could screw things up. And now it just like sat here and it just shut down and booted up again. And I'm like, fantastic. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to just like let it, everything's backed up. So if anything, it doesn't really matter if anything happens. And so I let the computer do its thing, and it blue screened I think 3 or 4 times after that. And then it finally got to like the welcome screen, and like half of my computer screen just wasn't on. And I'm like, okay, this is a lot more, there's a lot more going on. So thankfully it was still under warranty. And so I just took it into Best Buy and I'm like, okay, hey, like this is happening on my computer. Or like, I factory reset it. It's blue screening again. Can you take a look at it? And they're just like, okay, cool. Like it'll take, like a week because it's like they have to send it over to like their technicians and then send it back and like all that wonderful stuff. They're like, you should get it back within the week. I'm like, okay, whatever. It sucks because now I don't have a gaming laptop to play all of my games. So I booted up the very old laptop that I had when I first started playing Genshin and started playing Genshin on it again. And let's just say the graphics, they're not good when you're trying to play Genshin on like a 10 to 12-year-old laptop at that point. And because Genshin's done graphic updates throughout the years, I couldn't even play it on the low graphics setting anymore. I had to play it on the lowest graphic setting. So that was fun. And then like a week goes by and I randomly get a call from Best Buy and they're just like, yeah, so you have like this credit with us. When are you going to use it? That's like literally, that's how they opened the phone call. And I'm like, what credit are you talking about? And they're just like, oh, for your laptop. And I'm like, so I'm not getting my laptop back? And they're just like, no, it was toast. The memory, the motherboard went. I'm like, oh, okay. Was not expecting to have to buy a new laptop. I was like, oh, it's just going to be fine. They're going to like repair it, and then give it back to me. No. It was not fine. And also, what am I doing? How does one fold this in? I think like so. That looks, yes, that looks right. However, it was a blessing in disguise because I had a credit. I was like, you know what? I can shell out just a little bit more money and get a much better laptop than what I had before. Oh my god, I keep hitting my mic. Yeah, like I would have a much better laptop than what I had before. Um, and then pivot. So yeah, so I was able to get, like, after a year having my first ever gaming laptop, I was able to upgrade it to something better, which I was not expecting, but that is what it is. Where is this? I should go up just more. Move it back around. Go just a little bit further. There we go. And that should be, yeah, that's like 10 better. Might be just a smidge of puckering, but I could really care less. And that's also right. I have to hand sew the bias tape. Oh, that's fun. Now I kind of understand why I'm like, I'm not finishing the text when I started it. Whoops. Yeah, I think, I mean, corner's not awful. You could definitely use a little bit of work, but I think what was supposed to happen is that the corner's supposed to like look like this. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you for dropping by. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. And then is there, I mean, it's a little bit steep. That's okay. Do I want, okay. So now that's done. I don't think that there's anything else that I have to sew on for the bias binding. So I'm going to be good. And then just give me 1 second. Now I'm back. Just double checking everything. I want to make sure that all like the stream is still good. I'm like, I don't have my laptops like more to like the corner of me, so I can't monitor things as much as I normally do. So that's there's that. And then like going back to gaming, oh, I want to move this back up. Like Genshin's really the thing that kickstarted my love of gaming, which I think is so um fascinating. Like before, I never really knew what type of games there were out there. So like in my brain, when like I was growing up, like the Xbox was a huge thing, and I just remember like Call of Duty being a huge thing as well, and like person shooters, and I'm like, yeah, that's not that's not the type of games that I like. Like they never really interested me as much. So, but like for me, because I never really got to explore different games because those were like the games that my dad also liked to play. But because I was never able to like fully explore different types of games, I didn't realize how many different types of video games there were out there. And I know like I know when I was a kid I would play Club Penguin and like Webkins. And like those were all fun and like those were fun. Um and I thoroughly enjoyed them, especially Club Penguin. I feel like Webkins, I would log in to Webkins every now and then, but Club Penguin was the thing that I was absolutely obsessed over. But like as I grew up, like I kind of grew out of it, and I just never really knew what other games I would like to play. And so Genshin was really kind of the gateway into, I would say, my love of gaming. Especially, it's also very, very interesting. Uh, in terms of my preference of games because Genshin's like an open world gotcha game. And that's like while I do like the gotcha aspect of it because, you know, pulling for characters and building them and all that stuff, one of the biggest things that I love about Genshin is just exploring the open world. And I think that that's so interesting because when I played The Sims 3 was an open world game. And then EA decided to make The Sims 4, and The Sims 4 isn't an open world game. You have to load in between different areas of the town. You can't just walk from one end of the town to the next area or to the other end of the town. Like you have to go through loading screens. And I remember when EA switched over from The Sims 3 to The Sims 4, like I was kind of excited about it. Like obviously it was no Sims 3 and I didn't really like the graphics decision that they not the graphics decision, but like the art direction of The Sims 4. I really wish that it was more not necessarily like hyper realistic. I still think that it should always be a little bit cartoony, but like I guess more I want to say more anime-esque, but not really at the same time. Like, you know, have it be still a little bit cartoony, but still have it be a little bit more realistic. And I think that I also don't like the physics of The Sims 4 as much as I like the physics of The Sims 3. Especially the hair. The hair in The Sims 4 pisses me off because it's just a block. Like there's no individual strands of hair. There's nothing. It's just here's the hair shape. Here's some lines with the hair shape, and that's it. It just I feel like The Sims 4 is a little bit lazy in terms of the art direction, or potentially just playing it a little bit slower, essentially. Um, in comparison to The Sims 3. But I know, like, even though that the art direction isn't what I personally like, I still bought the base game to The Sims 4, and like I still played it a little bit. I never got into it as much as The Sims 3. And what is going yeah, like I never really got into it as much as The Sims 3, which is to be expected. And then yeah, like I got the base game. I played a little bit of it, but like I always felt like with The Sims 3, I always felt like I could get lost within the world and within the game. Like I would sit here and like I would open The Sims 3. What? Nation? Might need to go and fix a little bit of this. I feel like I have to do a little bit more of nudging or pinning a little bit better when I go and sew it, like hand sew it, because then I think I would do like a whip stitch. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, like with the Sims 3, I could always like I always got lost within it. So like I would open up the game and I what the hell? Why is this so far out? Or is that how that's supposed to be? No, that's not how that's supposed to be. Where is what? Oh, hold on. Oh, did it just get snagged? It got snagged a little bit. Let me. Don't think that I have to seam rip. Hold on. What's going on? Yeah. It just got pinched a little bit. Okay. That's fine. That's an easy fix. For a hot second, I was like, oh no, did I sew this incorrectly? Yeah, like with The Sims 3, I could get lost within the game for like hours on end. Like I would boot it up, create my sim, and then all of a sudden I realized that it's been like 5 hours. And I'm like, holy crap, it does not feel like 5 hours in terms of gameplay. Like I just got lost within it. There we go. Yeah, it still got pinned. Where's this? No. I don't think that it was supposed to be pinned at all. Yeah, no. Where it's like when I booted up The Sims 4 and I started playing it, I would I would do like the create a sim, do all that wonderful jazz, and then yeah, okay. I don't think, or was it supposed to be like that? I don't think it was supposed to be like that. Maybe it was. I don't think that was supposed to come all the way out. Definitely not. Okay. So then Was this supposed to go? Supposed to go. I think so. Yeah. That. How does that look? I don't think that it was supposed to be like that. So let me. Or was it? I'm still going back and forth. I'm like, I can't remember. No. Okay. Like, I can't remember how I'm supposed to do corners with bias binding, and I really don't want to look up a tutorial on how to do it. Because that is just me. I think. How is it? How did I do it on the other corner? Whatever. I'll just do this. I'll just resew it like this and see. Need to pivot down. Okay. Let me just pivot. If this doesn't work, then I'll just fudge around it. Go from there. Oh. Yeah, that looks 10 times better. And there's still that looks 10 times better. Okay. And then go back here. And I'm not going to worry about the corners until or at least like this corner until I pin this down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, like going back to Sims 4, like I just couldn't get lost within the game. Like anytime all the loading screens would just take me out of the game entirely. Um and so I was like, okay, like whatever, like that sucks, but you know, it is what it is. Like obviously like I'm not going to enjoy all the Sims games that they put out. But then I'm like, okay. And it's like also the other thing that like made me kind of angry about The Sims 4 was that it just felt like it was lacking a lot of content. And I don't know if that was just because I was so used to playing The Sims 3 and I had like all of the expansion packs. I think I had like all of the expansion packs. So it could just be that it's like, well, I'm so used to having seasons and I'm so used to, you know, having universities um and like all that sort of stuff that I just wasn't used to the lack of content within the base game. But then like the thing that kind of pissed me off was there we go. Was that it just felt like they were prioritizing releasing packs instead of like expansion packs. And then they also released this new thing called like game packs or whatever, which was like a smaller, cheaper option to like an expansion pack. It just didn't have as much gameplay in it. And I'm like, okay, like I'm fine with that idea. Um, if they're still going to release like expansion packs, and then you know maybe like we could have like maybe like smaller ideas, like maybe we could have like a gardening game pack, for example, where it's just more targeted towards like gardening, and it's kind of like a hybrid between like a stuff pack and an expansion pack. It was just smaller and maybe like more um like a very specific um topic or niche for thing, and I'm like, that would be fine. Like I'm fine with that. But it was that thing where like they would release, especially if that meant that we were going to get more content quicker, and then it's like, but then it just felt like it was still like them releasing stuff packs and then releasing the occasional game pack, and then like months later release an expansion pack, and I'm like, I'm not going to just sit here and like, why am I buying all of this stuff if you're not actually going to give us anything? And then not only that, but like it was just like, I know that they had like the vampire game pack, which is the only game pack that I have of The Sims 4, the only game pack, and like that's fun and all, and I'm like, okay, like this is it's a fun little thing, but it sucked because I'm like, why couldn't you just release it as a supernatural like expansion pack like you did with The Sims 3, where then we had like witches and werewolves and vampires and like all of that sort of stuff, and like fairies. Like, why is this its own individual game pack? It didn't really make sense. And then also it was like, okay, that's great, now my Sims can be a vampire, and then that's it. Like, cool, we got like a small new kind of town. There wasn't really that much stuff to do. Oh, and I want work. I want what the hell? Okay. Wait. Wait a moment. No, okay. Oh, that scared me. I was like, wait, where's the other sleeve? Like, oh no, did I take off the wrong sleeve? No, it's fine. Okay. Oh, that scared me. I didn't realize if this was, I didn't know if this was like the front or the back. It's the front. Okay. And then I'm also going to fix that because I should have sewn that down. And I also need to cut this off. Um, no, I'm not going to do it that way. So, actually, no. I want to flip this. I feel like that. There we go. That's a bit better. And then I want to sew that down as well. Sorry, cat. Going to disturb your piece. There we go. Pick you back up. Okay. And then I can, whoops. Not used to having all this stuff around me when I sew. we go. Um, that's better. No, it's not as bulky. Okay. But yeah, like it was that thing where um but yeah, just basically like for me, like because there wasn't a lot of content with it before, um and also with it being not an open world, I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait until they drop The Sims 5. It's like, okay, well, going off of like previous years and previous installments, like they've done Sims 1, or like The Sims, The Sims 2, The Sims 3, and now The Sims 4. So it makes logical sense that they're going to do a Sims 5. So like my little teenager brain. Um, and then years go by, and they're still making The Sims 4, and then it comes out that they're not making The Sims 5, and I'm like, you have a golden opportunity to make a much better installment of The Sims 4, or like make a much better installment for The Sims, one where there's like an actual open world. Because I know that when The Sims 4 was announced and it came to light that it wasn't an open world, they're just like, yeah, so like the technology just isn't here for an open world game. Like trying to do an open world game with The Sims 3 was already like difficult enough. And it's like, we don't want to put out a product that's not good, type thing. And it's like, oh, okay, like, makes sense. And I'm like, you cannot sit here and tell me that technology has not improved to the point where you could make an open world game. Like, so, like, why, like, so it's like, why don't you just make an open world game for The Sims for The Sims? Um, so needless to say, I don't play The Sims anymore. I still have all The Sims 3. Um, like I never purchased any of The Sims 3 on like digitally or anything like that. So I purchased all of them on like physical discs. So it's like I have all of the physical discs with me. So then I just have to boot everything up, which would be nice if I ever want to play The Sims 3 again. Um, but yeah, to make like a long story short, essentially what I experienced between The Sims 3 and The Sims 4 made me like, and then also playing Genshin, I think it's quite interesting that I knew that I enjoyed open world games from like a young age, because those were like, I liked running around the world, like open world, and doing all that sort of stuff. But it just never clicked for me that there are actual games like that out in the world. Um, but yeah, so it was interesting. But yeah, and then and even like so now it's like, because Genshin's kind of opened my eyes to. I'm going to have to go through it and make sure that all of this is. I'm just right now pinning. And but like, because I'm now used to a little bit of a combat type game, I started playing Elden Ring as well. I want to move this up. Which, like, if I was to tell my younger self that, hey, so you like rage quit on like old like Barbie games type thing, because like I know that I would play, like, there was like the Barbie 12 Dancing Princesses game, and it's like, hey, you rage quit on that, and it's like a puzzle game or whatever. Yeah, you're going to sit here and you're going to play Elden Ring, where you're going to die a lot of times and you have to redo stuff in order to beat the bosses, and you're actually going to enjoy it. I would have absolutely looked at myself insane, being like, that, why would I play a game like that? That does not sound like fun. But then here we are. In terms of like that style of game, I don't play it that much. I really kind of play it whenever I kind of am in the right mindset, um, for a little bit more of a challenge. Uh, but yeah, that's fun. And then I don't know what I want to do here. That was also part of the reason why I just haven't worked on this project a lot. I don't know what I wanted to do with sleep on the end. Also, I'm just going to double check one thing. I need more. Okay, now I'm back. I just need to go grab some water. Okay. Now, how do I want to do this? That is the ultimate question. Unless. Uh, or maybe. Yeah, I think. Okay. I think what I'm going to do with the sleeves is because I can't do the bias binding how I normally would do it because I can't fold it over around the sleeve. I think what I'm just going to do is unpick all this and then take the sleeve out and then move it to wherever I want it to be. So the sleeve onto the lining layer and then right? That would work, right? Yes. Yes. I think that would work. Oh, I mean, if it doesn't, then it doesn't. I have to figure out something else. But I think that's what I'm going to at least go and try it and see where that gets me. Because right now, I can't really do the bias binding with the way that the sleeve is, unless the only other thing that I could potentially do is just do the bias binding on like this little strip of fabric. So kind of like fold it over like this instead and then have that kind of be like that. But I feel like that would be a little bit weird, or that would that be weird? I don't think so. Hmm. I don't know how I want to do this. I mean, I think that was fine. Then if anything, if it starts to kind of like pull away, then I can just like reattach the sleeve to the bias binder. If anything, if yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's what I'm going to do, in all honesty, because I don't really feel like unpicking things and resewing things. This is like, this is why it's taken me like a year to do this. I swear. It's like I know that I had like the exact same issue when I was first working on it. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to attach the sleeves, but I don't know how I want to attach the sleeves with the bias binding. Um, because it's like I wanted the bias binding. I wanted there to be a bias binding on this. Um, because with the actual skirt, the waistband has a black. The waistband is black, and so because I want this to like match, I was like, okay, well, I might as well just do a black bias binding um instead of just like sewing all of this right sides together and then flipping it out. Um, plus also I feel like the bias binding is just a little bit more of a cleaner look in comparison to doing things the other way. So I don't know. But yeah, I think I'm just going to do the bias binding like that and then kind of go from there. Oops. Yeah. And then I'll probably end up just sewing, like hand stitching this, like to just attach the sleeve to the bias binding. That way, then it's not like pulling apart or like pulling away like this. But I don't know. We'll see like when I go and try it on if that will be an issue. If not, then I'll just leave it. But if it's an issue, then I'll just attach that. I'll just sew those two together. Also, this. Oh, okay. Just. Whoops. Okay. Go. Is there? I don't know. Oh, there is a little bit of a. I want to make sure that I'm not like catching anything that I should not be. this is going to be a little bit more, because there's not that much of a lip that I can do. Okay. Okay. Then there's that. And then we're getting to the end. Nice. And then I just have to hand sew everything. And then at that point is just putting on a buttonhole on this, and then the buttonholes on the front, and then this would be done. Essentially, after I stitch all of this together. Nice. Okay. Coming along. Coming along, which I'm so happy about. Oh, I cannot. I'm so excited to be able to wear this shirt out and about. Because I love how it looks, and um, I love everything about it. So I'm really excited to be able to wear it, especially because it feels so much like a me shirt. Um, okay. Which is also like part of the reason why not necessarily why I started sewing, because I started sewing because I wanted to make cosplays. Like it was always been my dream, make my own cosplays. I know when I first kind of got the idea of doing cosplays, like the first ever character that I wanted to cosplay as, and like make it myself was the main character from an phase. It was like this. It's so hard to describe because it's been so long since I've watched it. But essentially, it was like this, I think, cat vampire uh girl that was like trapped in a castle, and then someone, I think, just like found her, and then she lived with them for a while or something like that, and then they got up to like shenanigans or whatnot. But I loved the outfit that the main character would wear. And so I know that originally, like when I was a little kid and I wanted to make a cosplay, that was the first cosplay that I wanted to do. I still have not made that cosplay. I don't think that I ever will, unless I end up. Well, first off, I would have to like sit down and rewatch the plays. I'm not. Um, I don't really want to um cosplay a character from an anime that um don't that I can't remember much about. And due to that, I would have to go back and rewatch it. I know that I watched it on Netflix a long time ago when Netflix actually had good anime. I mean, Netflix still has decent anime on it. But I feel like Netflix had a lot of the, I don't know, I want to say obscure anime for some reason. Um, but like I just feel like Netflix before like Funimation and Crunchyroll was like a really big thing. Netflix was like where I would go and watch anime. And I know that it was on Netflix for a hot minute when I was growing up. I think I'm a I'm like 99.9% sure that it has been removed from Netflix. I don't know when it was removed. Probably like years ago. Yeah. And so that was like the first ever cosplay that I wanted to make. And then I know that I picked up sewing in high school. Also, this is not. I'll fuss around with that when I go and set it down. Yeah. Ooh. So now I want to make sure this is all even, which I know for a fact it's not. Know for a fact it's not. So me start on this end and work my way back around. Oh, that's right. When you do I think when you're supposed to do bias binding, you're supposed to do it just right below the stitching. So that also means that stitching has to. But I know for a fact it's not. More sort of like even. I feel like that's good as that's going to get. I just don't want it to be like, oh, here's like a really big chunk, and then like here's like it's now smaller. Like it goes from like big or small type thing. And then this down. And then like I got into sewing when I was in high school. And I loved sewing in high school. I sewed, obviously, it's high school, they want a quick and easy they wanted like a quick and easy project that everyone can do. So we did a pair of pajama shorts. In high school, which was fun, and like I liked it. I liked the act of sewing. But then for whatever reason, like when I came home to start sewing, I just didn't know like how to. And I think that that's such an interesting thing that I kind of learned in terms of schooling, where it's just like, yeah, like the teacher will tell me how to do something, but like I feel like I don't really know how to problem solve whenever I'm supposed to be working on something, like working on like a project or whatever. I feel like they just never really taught me problem solving skills, which I think is interesting because it's a school. But it's like okay, like I want to sew a pair of pajamas um at home instead of school. And I don't know, for me, I'm like I didn't know where to start. Like, because I feel like the teacher would sit here and like guide you, being like, okay, well, you do this first, you do this first, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, that sort of thing. And when I got home, it's like, well, there's no one here to tell me what I need to do or how I need to do it. Which then okay, this is looking not too bad. And it was also the other thing as well was that I obviously like I'm using this sewing machine, but I got my mom, basically like my grandmother, like one of my grandmothers loves sewing, and like she told my mom, it's like you always need to have a sewing machine in your house, like always, even if you don't like the act of sewing, like actual sewing garments. you need to have a sewing machine so that you can repair your garments. You know, and knowing how to repair your garments, like if you need to hem something, if you need to like sew like sew up a hole or patch a hole, like you should know those things in terms of like mending clothes. And my mom's just like, my mom doesn't like sewing, not a crafting at all. My mom's like, we're never going to use this like sewing machine. My grandmother's like, oh, it doesn't really matter, as long as you have a sewing machine, it's fine. So my grandmother gave us a 1960s Singer sewing machine, and it's a one whole unit. So it's not like a sewing machine like this where you could like move it around. It's actually in its own table, and it'll like flip up out of the table, and you'll have your sewing machine. But then it's like, if you don't want to have a sewing machine, you can just put it all back, and then it acts as like a nightstand, like a table. And so my mom's always used it as a table. And so I know in high school, it's like, hey, we have, you know, we're working on like machines like this, but like, you know, like at this point, probably 15-year-old machines. And then I come home and I'm like, yeah, so I'm now working on a 1960s machine that doesn't work the same way, like doesn't have the same components as like a newer sewing machine. And so I know that when I came home from school and I'm like, okay, like I want to sit down and start sewing, I looked at the sewing machine. I'm like, I don't even know how to thread this thing, because it's not like how you would thread a normal machine in school. And so then, and this was what, like when YouTube was like first starting too, like it like I think YouTube was like, I think YouTube was probably like 5 years old at that point. And so, you know, back when YouTube first started, it's not like the platform it is today. And so I couldn't go and look up videos like tutorials on how to thread this machine. I had the manual that it came with, and that was it. And so at that point in time, I'm like, yeah, I'm not sewing. And then I got into Genshin, you know, circling back around to that topic. I got back into Genshin, loved it so much that I wanted to cosplay characters from it. And so at that point, I was like, okay, well, I could go to like a site like Amazon. Also, I want to double check the music. Okay. I just wanted to change the music up a little bit just because it was getting closer. Ow. Stabbed myself with a pin. It was just getting to the end of that album, so I didn't want it to like start randomly playing a different type of music. Um, What's going on? Here we go. Because it's just on, like, I'm basically, this is all like Genshin music, because why not? Their music is amazing. So I just have it open on my Spotify, and I'm like, I don't know if at the end of the album what it's going to play next. Is it going to play one of my songs that I listen to? And if so, I listen to a lot of different kinds of music, and the last thing that I want it to happen is to like go from like this kind of chill orchestra kind of music to like rock or dubstep or something like that, like completely just like out of the like just completely out of the blue kind of music. Like what the hell? Okay. Um thing. This um okay, that's fine. So I just wanted to quickly change that over to a different album. That way then uh things don't get this is not whatever. Okay. But yeah, it's but yeah, like when I started playing Genshin, I wanted to cosplay a few characters from it. And so I started my journey on learning how to sew. And it was, I would say, like, it was a lot easier uh, that time around instead of like when I was doing it at school or whatever. Because, like, I feel like I kind of gotten a much better sense of how to problem solve stuff. And thus, because I'm able to problem solve things, um, it like whenever I ran into an issue with like this with the sewing project, I kind of knew what I needed to do, how I needed to try to solve it, and so forth and so on. And then my first ever, pretty much like the first ever thing that I sewed outside of sewing for school was my Venti cosplay. So I also think that it was really crazy for me to have done a Genshin cosplay at all, just because of how intricate the outfits for on Genshin is. And I feel like the corners are going to be a little bit scuffed, but it is what it is. As long as it doesn't fall apart, that's all that really matters, because no one's going to be looking at it. At least up close. And also, if anyone's looking at it, they probably cannot tell. But yeah. So it was that thing where it's crazy that I even started doing a Genshin cosplay, especially for like one of my first ever sewing projects by myself. So just how intricate it can be. Like with Venti's outfit, I also made a more like a femme version of his outfit. So I traded the shorts for a skirt. Just because I'm not a shorts person. I don't like wearing shorts. And so if I can wear a skirt instead, I absolutely will. And because of that, I so yeah, so like with his outfit, you have the shorts, or in this case the skirts for me. Um, and then I also had he has a button-up shirt, a corset, or like the corsets. Like you could do a corset, but basically there's kind of like a belt that goes around you. So then that's that, and then on top of that, you also have the cape, and you also have all of the other accessories as well, like the shoes, the hats, the vision, the belts, all of that sort of stuff, and they're all individual pieces too. And so it was a very ambitious project. Um, there's definitely a lot of things that I would love to go back and kind of redo ish. Like in terms of fits, it fit fine, which I'm actually kind of shocked about, especially in regards to like I think the only thing that doesn't really fit all that well would be the shirts. Because like the issue with a lot of the shirts that I have, or not have, but like make, is that they never fit around my armpits correctly. So like my shirts tend to pucker around my armpits, and I've since figured out why that happens. But like back then I didn't know, and so I just had like I kind of fudged around with the underpit seams a little bit to kind of get it um to kind of sit correctly. But because I did that, um it kind of like I kind of have restrictions of movement in my arms when wearing that shirt, just because of what I've done with it. But I would say that's pretty much like it in terms of like fit issues, which I think is insane in terms of like the first ever skirt that I made, first ever shirt that I've made, that there isn't more fit issue. Um, Realistically, I would say with that cosplay, the only this is go through the only thing that I would say I have issues with is or that I would like to go fix would be the construction of it. Because there's a lot of um, wonky lines, like wonky seams, um, and like that sort of thing. Um, the seams aren't uh, perfectly straight, or they're kind of like all over the place type thing. So I would say that's like the only major thing that I would want to go back and redo on that cosplay. And then I tried my hand at my Farina cosplay. Because Farina is like one of my all-time favorite characters as well. And I wanted to cosplay her, but the issue with Farina's cosplay, unlike Venti's, I was able to find a pattern for Venti's cosplay. So in terms of cosplaying him, someone had already done the pattern. There was instructions on it and all that fun jazz, um, which is great. Um, which is absolutely fantastic. And then, but with my Farina cosplay, there's no such pattern like that. Like there's no information. Um, but yeah, like there's no such information in regards to like a Farina cosplay. And so I, being a novice sewist, took it upon myself to. Also, this is not. Can I go? Ooh, I don't want to knock that over. Okay. What's going on here? I just don't have a lot of space. That's the only. Okay. Things are kind of just. It's also things aren't. Yeah, like so being the novice sewer myself, I decided that it would be a really great idea for me to sit here and try to pattern the cosplay out myself, which I think like I did a pretty decent job of patterning it out. I definitely did a lot of mock-ups because half of the things I've never sewn before in my life. Like I sewed my first pair of shorts since high school. So that was fun. And um it's so wonky. I think that's just I have a feeling that may have been how I sewed the seams. I think this is wrong. I think that that's what's throwing a lot of this stuff off. Is that it's just not done correctly. We'll see. But yeah, like I think that I did a decently good job on Sabrina cosplay in terms of like it being literally the first thing. Oh, battery died. Give me 1 second. Everything's back. Okay. But yeah, like you're basically I'm using my DSL camera and as like the camera. And when you're doing that, you're supposed to have like a little like dummy battery pack. So, like it would basically a dummy battery pack would trick the camera into thinking that there's a battery in it. And then I think that you would just hook it up to like a power source. Like you would plug in your camera instead of running it on the battery pack. But I do not own such thing. And so I have to use my batteries. Which thankfully I have two of them. But one of them I need to buy new ones. Like one of them doesn't really keep charged that well. Which is the one that I currently have in, the one that I swapped to. We'll see how long this one lasts. The only good thing is that because it doesn't hold charge that well, it charges up very quickly. So, in comparison to my other one. But that's fine. Um, Well, there's a little bit of scuff here, which I think is fine. It is what it is. And also depending on, or no, it's not going to be far enough. Okay. With that being said, now it's time to actually start sewing. Like, I spent all this time pinning things, but the only thing is that I have to, I'm hand sewing. Oh well, this is so. Okay, that's not too bad. There we go. And I think I think I'm just going to start at this corner. All these pins. Here's my pin box. Put you over there, hopefully. That way then I don't accidentally knock it. There we go. No, I want it to be this way. Oh, this is going to be fun with all of the things that I... Okay. You typically, if I'm remembering correctly, you just have to go under it. And then... Definitely feels like a little bit of a bigger needle than what I'm used to. Also, I need to make sure that the thread doesn't get snagged on any of that I have that it keeps. Okay, there we go. Hopefully, it'll probably snag. There we go. I take that out. Hopefully, it doesn't. Yeah, like in terms of like my Farina cosplay, like I'm still so proud that I've tried to do it. There's definitely a lot of issues that I need to go back and fix. Detail issues, and then also just um issues in regards to there's a lot of fit issues. Like the shorts not fitting correctly, uh, um, or like the shirts. Like there's just every piece of clothing on it has some sort of fit issue, and so yeah, like it's my goal probably within the next 2 to 3 months to start to go back and rework it, because I would like to have it. I think that that's going to be kind of my major cosplay project this year. So every year I try to do one major cosplay, because I like maybe if I'm cosplaying less complex characters than Genshin characters, I would be more inclined to work on more than just one cosplay project a year. But since I am, hold on, Hopefully that was okay. I was just readjusting my mic. Um, and then, but yeah, like I typically, like, if I wasn't doing, if I was doing anything else than like oh, hold on, everything is not working out. Everything is tangled. What is going on here? Are you knotted? Okay. But yeah, like if I was working on anything, if I was working on less complex projects, like less complex cosplay projects, then I would maybe be more inclined to doing more than just one a year. But because I'm doing more like because I'm doing Genshin cosplays, which tends to be extremely complicated with multiple different parts and um, design elements and all that stuff, I I could not fathom doing more than one a year. So I know the first year that I started cosplaying, I did my Venti cosplay, and then the second year I did my Farina cosplay, which I did wear to Fan Expo. And can this stop hitting or catching on the pens? That would be very much appreciated. Um, but then I did like my Farina cosplay, and I still wore it to Fan Expo. I think 2 out of the 3 days. I think on the third day I was just kind of over it. I was done. Um, and I went more with with my Venti cosplay. Um, so, and then this year I did a Colabina cosplay. So originally I wasn't planning on doing any sort of, or I guess technically last year I wasn't planning on doing any sort of cosplays. I was just going to go with my Venti cosplay because I was so busy with so many other projects that I just did not have time to spare to actually work on the cosplay. And it wasn't until I think a month out from the con that my friends were talking about getting their cosplays all done, because we all like to procrastinate and con crunch, which I definitely do not recommend, by the way. uh it is not fun. But so they're talking about their cosplays, and I'm like, you know what, like, I kind of feel sad that I'm not going to be doing a cosplay at all that year. And due to that, I looked around my room and at my posters being like, okay, well, who can I cosplay? Like, what can I, like, who can I cosplay and like quickly whip up like an outfit within the next month to like month and a half. And I had an Arlecchino poster of her in her Fatui cloak. And I'm like, you know what? That's genius. I'm going to, because I knew for a fact that there was a pattern on Etsy that I found like a long time ago, and it was just chilling in my favorites of the Fatui outfits. So I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cosplay. Originally, I was going to cosplay multiple Fatui harbingers. I was going to cosplay Colabina, Arlecchino, and then potentially one other one. I wasn't like 100% sure. But then I looked at the Amazon listing for the wigs, and all of the wigs except for like Colabina would take like 2 or 3 weeks to get to my house. And I'm like, that is cutting it extremely close in terms of uh the time before the con. Um and so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go as Colabina, which thankfully, like, I'm kind of thankful that I didn't do multiple Fatui harbingers, because even just doing what I had to do for Farina, or not Farina's, Colabinas, I don't think that I would have had time to do any other details for any of the other harbingers. I think that I just would not have enough time to do all that. So but yeah, so then I found a pattern for Colabina's headpiece and even eyepiece as well. With the headpiece, I used EVA foam that I had because I got two thicknesses off of Amazon. Well, no, one from Michael's and then the other one from Amazon. Because Michael's, at least in Canada, or at least where I'm at, they don't have EVA foam anymore, which I think is such a crime. Like, come on, you're a craft store where crafters go and you don't even have EVA foam? Like, what the hell? But anyway, so then I had to buy it off of Amazon. So like I had a few rolls of that just kind of chilling. And so I made Colabina's headpiece out of EVA foam, which thankfully there was patterns for and like for EVA foam, because I know sometimes I struggle with or struggled with finding a pattern for like Venti's Vision that had EVA foam attached to it, because like everyone does 3D printed stuff now. And I'm like, okay, that's fine and dandy. But like I don't own a 3D printer, and I don't think that I will ever own a 3D printer. So if I want to make any of this stuff, I have to make it out of EVA foam. But like if there's no patterns out there for EVA stuff, then I'm kind of screwed. And that was the same thing with Venti's Vision, was that I had to search high and low, and I don't even think that there was a pattern for it, but I had to find the pattern. I got a free pattern off of someone's like YouTube video, because I don't even think that there was Etsy listings for visions for EVA foam. And I'm like, that's like so sad, because like you can make so many cool things out of EVA foam. You don't have to do everything with a 3D printer. And also like EVA foam's way more accessible than that of a 3D printer. Like more people are going to be able to buy EVA foam versus, you know, buying a 3D printer with all its fulfillment or like all the fills and all that stuff. Anyway, so I found the pattern and then I quickly made all that stuff. So I would like to go through and make Colabina's new outfits. Instead of doing the Fatui Harbinger's outfit, but again, like I have to go through and pattern everything out myself, and I'm like, there's like a month before the con, and I'm busy doing other things at the same time. I'm like, I don't have time to sit here and pattern something out, especially like a non-traditional garments type thing. Or not necessarily non-traditional, but like a garment that I've never made before. I'm like, I don't have time for that. Yeah, so I just went with Colabina's Fatui Harbinger outfit. But I think this year, instead of making like a new cosplay, I want to go back and rework my Farina cosplay, because like Farina is still like one of my all-time favorite characters. Also, I'm going to take all the pins out, at least for this row that I've done. But yeah, like Farina's still like one of my all-time favorite characters, and so I would love to be able to cosplay her, and I also love her outfit too. And so, and it's also that thing where I don't necessarily want to have clothing just chilling in my closets that I'm never going to wear. Like if I'm not going to wear it, then I might as well either deconstruct it and then use those pieces for a different project, or just get rid of it altogether. But like I can sit here and I can salvage a lot of things from my Farina cosplay. I just have to I just need to construct things better, or just kind of fix a lot of the fit issues that I was having with it. Even like I think also the other thing is that with my Farina cosplay, I was rushing a lot, because I started it hella late within the what the hell is going on here? Oh, there we go. Yeah, like with my Freyna cosplay, like for the complexity and also like my skill level, I started that cosplay way too late into the year. Normally, like with my Venti cosplay, like I started it in the summer of the that year of like the year of the like pretty much like 6 months before the con, which is like a good decent amount of time to work on something. But with my Farina cosplay, I think I started it like either 3 or 4 months before the con, which was not ideal, especially because I was doing everything. I was patterning everything myself and doing all that stuff, which just took so much time. And so I know that there's like a lot, um, in terms of like just fit issues that were happening, and then also, whoops, I accidentally knocked down a pin. Um, I'm gonna have to sew that there. That's all right. I'll probably have to go through and potentially just remove some of the stray, all the stray thread. Fun. Where was I? There we are. There we are. Also, okay, just give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. Where did I leave off? That's where I left off. Yeah. Okay. Let's. What do I want to do? There we go. That was a little bit further down than what I wanted, but that's fine. I am currently sorry. I was fixing something because the music was cutting in and out. But I'm currently making a shirt. Um, oh, all the pins, all the pins are catching on everything. But yeah, it's a shirt, and then this is like the front of it, and so then it'll button together, and then these are the sleeves. Um, And so I made a skirt with this fabric. And so I wanted to make a matching shirt with it. So right now I'm just sewing on the bias binding. I can find where I left off. Yeah. I was just like looking because like the music was cutting in and out and I'm like, okay, it hasn't done that at all for the entire stream. So I'm like, what's going on? It looks like it's working now. That's good. But yeah, I'm hand sewing the bias binding onto the back of the shirts. Normally, I thought that maybe like the skirt has the waistband of the skirt is black fabric. And since I wanted to match, I thought putting black bias binding would make a bit more sense instead of sewing both parts, the lining and the outer shell together, and then flipping everything right sides out. Also, I think that the bias binding just looks a little bit more, not necessarily like professional, but I think like more clean. Whereas sewing the lining and the front layer together and then flipping everything right sides together, I don't know, for me it just doesn't look as clean. Plus also sometimes I sometimes things don't like to line up properly. And so with the bias binding, if things don't line up properly, no one's going to tell. So there's that. Here. And then after the bias binding, well, after the bias binding, I need to go and pick out any of the any threads that shouldn't be there. but then I need to add some buttonholes and then the buttons. And then I know with the sleeves, I'm going to add buttonholes to the straps, and then a buttonhole and then a button to the front of the shirts, and then attach the sleeves that way, or the straps that way. Because like I was just having trouble with the straps not fitting the way that I want it to fit. I kept feeling like the straps were just way too loose, and so with the button I can just readjust where the button is, and then I don't have to worry about the straps being too tight or too loose. And then also yeah, like I don't have to worry if the button or if the straps are too tight, because I can just unbutton it and then put it put the straps on and then rebutton it. I don't like when straps fall down on my shoulders. It really bugs me. And so I knew I was kind of having that issue with those straps. I just want to make sure that that's not going to happen. Yeah. And then I know that I was hoping that I would get like a little bit more done today in regards to the shirt. I was hoping to have like all of the bias binding done. That's not happening, especially because I'm going to leave in like 20 minutes to like half an hour. That's normally when I end stream. But I was hoping that I would have like all of the bias binding done. I didn't know if I was going to have the buttons done, because I don't even know if I have the buttons, if I have buttons that I can use for this project or not. Because I inherited a tin of buttons from my grandmother, but there are a lot of like just one-off buttons. There's not a lot of buttons that have sets where there's more than like 2 buttons of the same kind. And so I don't even know if I have buttons for this project, which means that I would have to run out and grab buttons. But that's fine, because I feel like putting buttons on is not that hard, because my machine does the buttonholes. I know on my I have an old, yeah, I don't know why the music's cutting in and out. So weird. But yeah, like I know that I have an old sewing machine that didn't do automatic buttonholes. And as soon as I got this machine that does automatic buttonholes, I'm like, I'm never going back and trying to do manual buttonholes ever again, because they suck. I'm always going to do automatic buttonholes. I think it's time to rethread my needle. I'm really bad with not leaving enough thread to tie off everything. So I'm like, oh, like I don't need that much thread to tie off stuff, and it's like I don't want to like sit there and be like, oh, I don't have I'm tying off my thread too soon. But a lot of times I tend to tie off my thread way too late, and I just don't have enough actual thread to tie off. So I'm trying to get better at that, of leaving at least a little bit more thread than what I normally leave. Then I can take that pin out, and then I can just thread that. Here we go. Okay. But yeah, I thought that I was going to have all of this done. I think I forgot that I had to hand stitch the bias binding on the back, which I think is the reason why I'm like, oh, I'm going to get all of this stuff done. Not realizing that that I had to hand sew stuff. But originally I was like, okay. So yeah, so I was like thinking that I thought that maybe I would be able to finish this today. That is not happening. But I did have like because I thought that I was able to finish this today, I had other projects kind of like lined up. And I know that I have a corset that I have to finish doing as well. Of course, I have to finish doing the bias binding on that corset. And then I need to put the grommets on the corset as well. The corset is based off of my Venti corset. So for my Venti cosplay, so Venti from Genshin, I made a corset for it, but his outfit, the corset is a two-toned corset. It's a two-tone corset with two different kinds of colors of brown on it. And then there's like buttons going down the fronts. Also, I both love and hate this song. I love it because it's like, oh, it's kind of like a music box, but also I hate it because it just sounds like that like sleepy time music, and I'm like, no, I don't want sleepy time music. I want something with a little bit more upbeat. But it shouldn't. I'm like, the song shouldn't be that long. I think that it's changed now anyway. Yeah. But yeah, like the corset is a two-toned corset, which is fine, but for like an everyday use, I don't really want to have a two-tone corset. So I remade the corsets using the darker brown of the two browns. So that's fun. And it's like I've done majority of it. I just have to do the bias binding and then the grommets on that. And then whenever I want to wear it, then I could just use the ribbon that I have for my Venti cosplay and lace it up with that. Instead of sitting here and cutting more ribbon to lace up for that, to use as a lace. And then I also have this really nice lace. Speaking of lace, I have this really nice blue stretchy lace fabric. Really, really pretty. And I also like the feel of the fabric too. A lot of times I don't like the feel of lace because it feels very stiff and almost itchy as well. And so I love the look of lace. I just don't like the feel of it. And due to that, I was shopping in the fabric store one day, and I always go to the discount bin, or not the, it's like basically it's a discount wall where everything I think is like Canadian dollars, like $5, $5 Canadian per meter of fabric, which is a hell of a steal because a lot of like just cotton, granted the store it has a membership program, which is like $20 and you get the membership for like a year, so it's well worth the membership price. And then with the membership price you get additional discounts on top of things. But like for a meter of cotton, sometimes it can cost like $20 just for a meter. So if you need like, say like 5 meters of cotton, like you're dishing out like $100 right there. And so I always tend to go to the discount bin or discount wall, like the clearance wall, and to see kind of what fabrics they have, especially because a lot of times they'll have like specialty fabrics, where like I know um there's there was like a very fancy type of fabric uh that was like even more expensive than cotton, and literally 2 months later it was in the clearance section for like half off. So it's like instead of spending like $30 per meter, I was spending like, I don't even know if it was half off. I think that it was more, but like pretty much like $10 or $15 per meter or something like that. Which is hell of a steal. Considering the original price of that fabric. It was really nice. So yeah, so I normally go to the discount or clearance wall, and I found that blue lace fabric, and I snatched up like, I think like 5 or 6 meters of that fabric, and I made this really cute skirt. It's a asymmetrical, not an asymmetrical, no, I guess it is an asymmetrical skirt. But it's basically one side is longer than the other, and it fastens with a button on the side, so like you can completely take off the skirt just by undoing the buttons. But it's like very swishy and very pretty, and I love it. But I did have some of the extra lace fabric lying around, so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do a gathered skirt with that, the remaining lace fabric. And so that was also on the docket for today. Or like, I didn't know if I was going to, ow, that hurts. Oh, got snagged on one of the pins. Ooh, that hurts. But yeah, I didn't know if I was going to get to it today or not. Which obviously I'm not. But yeah, that was also in my project spin as well. So like earlier this week I went through my project spin because I haven't sewn in a long time. Just because I've been so busy with so many other things. But now that summer's coming up, and I know that it's kind of gotten a little bit hot over the last couple of weeks, I'm like, I need some summer tops. I need something, which was on my to-do list, like on my projects to-do list last summer. Last summer, I spent more of my time making skirts than anything else. And so now I'm like, okay, I need to pick up where I left off with all these projects and finish them, so then I have some shirts to wear with all the skirts that I've made. And so I went through my project bin, and I had like a lot of random stuff, like a lot of random fabric and a lot of random projects. And I knew that some of them, I knew exactly what some of them were, and then some of them I pulled out and I'm like, what were you supposed to be? I cut out the fabric, I cut out the pattern, so obviously like it was going to be something. But like when I hold it up against my body, I'm like, what? Like what was I trying to make? So I would say like half of my projects kind of just ended back up into my scrap fabric bin, which is fine because that's where they were originally from anyway. Because a lot of these shirts I'm making a lot of shirts that use a lot of my fabric scraps, which is the reason why this particular lining looks very scuffed, because, and it's like two-toned, because this is all scrap fabric that I made. And I'm like, you know what, since I'm trying to make some scrap fabric, or since I'm trying to cut some of my scrap fabric, I might as well create some lining layer with it. I might as well do some lining layers, because the issue that I kind of ran into also, there it is, the issue that I ran into when kind of looking up how to, like, what to make with with scrap fabric, a lot of the stuff that you make it's like a lot of like little bits and bobs or like objects, which is fine and dandy. But I'm like, I have so much scrap fabric, and I'm always going to have more scrap fabric. So at some point, I'm not going to need half of these items that people are suggesting to make. Like I know that a lot of people suggest to make like tote bags or makeup bags or like fabric coasters or like that sort of stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't need 5 different tote bags. I also have so many tote bags already. I don't need any more. Or like with the coasters, I'm like, okay, cool. I can make like a set of fabric coasters, but like I don't need to make 2 or 3. Um, and so I wanted to try to incorporate a lot of my scrap fabric back into certain projects, wherever I could, because that made the most amount of sense. I mean, like if I can sit here and if I can make more projects with them, then that fabric is going a lot farther, and I'm also making something that I'm going to wear and that I'm going to use um in in the grand scheme of things. Like I don't have to so yeah, so that's where a lot of my scrap fabric kind of becomes more of my lining layers, or even just like my bias binding as well. I know that scrap fabric is really good for also doing ruffles on things, like with this, like ruffles, because it's like when you gather stuff up, you need to use so many you need to use like a long length of fabric because you're gathering it up, and normally like you want to use like 2, even 3 times the amount of fabric that you would originally need in length. And so ruffles are a really good thing to do. It's just that I have a lot of different colors from a lot of like different projects, like especially my cosplay projects. A lot of my cosplay projects use a lot of colors that I wouldn't wear on a day-to-day basis. They're not typically my colors, and because of that, it's harder to incorporate them in. So I'm like, you know what? If I can use some of those colors as a lining layer, that would be great. That would be fantastic. And then we are coming up to 3 p.m. and at the end of my thread. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie this off like so. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to tie this off and then I'm going to end stream. Because it is like 3, which is normally when I end stream at. Plus also I have some other stuff that I have to do today that's more time sensitive, so I can't really stay past the time that I past 3. Yeah, I mean, as much as I didn't get nearly as much as I wanted done, I'm still pretty happy with what I've done so far. I think that it's a really good like I've made a really good progress on it, especially because all I have to do now is just do the rest of the bias binding and then add the buttons, like add the buttonholes and add the buttons, and then it's good to go. So yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to finish this off, and then I'm really happy that I was able to even make progress on it today. So that's fun. But yeah, and then so there's no stream tomorrow. So my next stream would be Tuesday, I think. I'm pretty sure that it'll be Thursday or Tuesday of next week. Um, and then I'll be playing Genshin uh, on Tuesday, and the stream would start roughly around pretty much the same time, like 11 a.m. PDT time, Pacific Daylight Time. Um, and yeah, so thank you for joining me as I've done a little bit of sewing. I don't. Also, what the hell is this? No, thank you. But yeah, I'm really glad that I was able to do a little bit of sewing. Um, I'm probably going to assume that next week I would switch back to doing some art. Um, or I could do a little bit of sewing, but it really just depends on where I am with my art. I know that I want to make some more stickers and bookmarks and notepads for my shop for Pride. And so there's that. So I just want to make sure that I can get that stuff done before I really spend any more time on this project. But yeah, so I think it'll probably be an art stream next week, unless I end up deciding that I want to do. Oh, hello there, cat. Um, unless I decide that I want to do some sewing. But yeah, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate hanging out with everyone and working on some sewing projects. And see you next time.